Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Nice to have you guys back.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. So this show is about the role a garden has played in your life as a gardener, how this garden has influenced and shaped your life and impacted your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to sharing that.
So how about showing us a couple of your favorite spots in the garden now?
Okay, it's going to be tough to choose, but let's start over here.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
It looks great.
It looks
Thank you.
really, really good. What you've done here makes it look huge. You've got a ton growing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels huge.
It does. I mean, basically, some people have more than I have in space, and some people have less. But it's about making the most of what you got. This slab here is only 20 by 20, and a lot of it is path.
Wow.
So, and I feel like I get a lot of vertical growing.
Yeah, that's really key.
So just be creative.
And I love the colors. What you've
Yeah.
done with the design and the colors is really incredible.
Yeah, I love that too.
So what would you say, or who, inspired this design and creation back here?
Well, I am somebody who comes from an art and design background. That was my major. I worked for Disney, and if you know Disney, everything is themed. So we definitely have a theme going on here. And so, I love tropical plants and I love vegetables. But how do you theme those together? I didn't know. And so I figured I'm just gonna make a jungle garden as if I lived in Hawaii. I'd still have a vegetable garden in Hawaii, right? It wouldn't
Definitely.
be jungle vegetables, it would be the vegetables that I'm growing. It's just in a jungle setting. And so that was the theme that I kind of ran with. In working for Disney and basically being a total Disney nerd for a long time, you can't really get away from that feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Disney definitely has a look and a feel.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you have that, but I didn't really theme it after anything. It kind of reminds me of the Jungle Cruise or Adventureland, which is my favorite
That's what I
land
was
anyway.
going to say. Yeah.
So, but I didn't go after, Disneyland, Adventureland. It just ended up that way because that's how my brain works.
Well, it definitely works. It's beautiful. It's very unique. We love it. I know our viewers will love it too. But I'd really love to see one of your very favorite spots. I'm sure it's hard to pick.
It is?
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to pick the tomatoes. I think I have really had a great success with tomatoes this year.
I can tell why this is your favorite spot. These tomatoes, I'm telling you, these are gorgeous. They are loaded down. I can't believe how many tomatoes you have and how big they are.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's been amazing. This has been a great year. Started off slow with the weather, but then, it's definitely made up for itself.
Now I notice you do have them trellised upward, but I don't see any stakes around the plants. Looks like you've done a fair amount of pruning, so explain to us your secret here.
Okay, well the secret would be they are growing up a string, and basically as the tomato grows, you just wrap it around so it holds itself really nicely.
Wow.
The string is buried down at the bottom with a landscape staple and then in the roots. And then just as the season goes on, all these armpits have little growths there, and just pinch those out. And it keeps the growth up the main stem, which you can see these stems, some of them are huge at the bottom.
Yes, they are.
And most of the fruit is going to grow off of the trusses from that main stem and not on the side shoots that kind of eventually produce some tomatoes.
Okay.
And you can grow a lot more closer together, so you can have more varieties or, whatever you
Okay.
want to do.
Yeah.
I have to say that there's something really neat about that you can see them. Usually they're hidden from view. You get to see all these, and it's very pretty. It's very relaxing to see all these beautiful tomatoes.
It looks like a super simple way to trellis and
really
something to be
is.
really inexpensive too.
Really inexpensive. I mean, you can take 2x4s. I could probably have on 2 or 3 2x4s all the way down for maybe $20. I could have an entire row of tomatoes. Just the string.
You probably have at least 10 or so just in this small little spot.
Yeah.
Now, is there another spot in the garden that you want to show us?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure there's lots of them, right?
So I'll pick one.
Okay, let's go check it out.
Okay.
Tell us, what are these beautiful things hanging down here? These are amazing.
This is loofah, which I totally grew as I was looking through Baker Creek, and it was a novelty, obviously. How much loofah do you need? But
Loofah, like the sponge that you wash yourself with?
yeah, and I thought that grew in the
way.
ocean. I just thought it was an ocean sponge, but it actually grows inside these. When they dry on the vine, you peel off the skin, the loofah's all intact inside, you shake out the seeds and just let it dry, and you've got yourself
Oh
a
my
loofah.
goodness, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have a lot of loofahs. You'll be really, really clean. Maybe you can give me one.
I
so
will.
I can be clean
I
too.
will. And you know what? It's a great plant. And the flowers, the bees love the flowers. So that's been a plus.
Oh my goodness. So it's a great pollinator attractor too. Well, it definitely makes a statement here in your garden and kind
Yeah.
of keeps with your very unique theme that you have here. So what else is it that you like about this space?
Well, these beans, you know, I have not been able to grow beans very successfully. I thought that the lifespan of a bean was basically once it reached the top of the trellis, the bottom started dying and you had maybe another couple weeks. Apparently, when you water well, you get this, because this is the first year I've had the drip irrigation, and
Definitely.
Crazy.
And those are the Scarlet Runner beans. I see
Scarlet
the
Runner
beautiful red
beans.
flowers, which
Yes.
they're also very productive.
yeah.
So they look amazing.
Yeah, these have already been producing about 2 months, and it's
Wow.
no end in sight.
And again, all the vertical space that you have here is really making the most out of it. It's,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Brian, something else very unique about your garden, you're growing squash, bush squash, vertically.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Looks great.
Never even thought about it before this year, but you know, you always get the trunk of the squash snaking through the bed by the end of the
Right.
summer. And that's pretty much all unusable space because you have to leave room for it to grow.
Right.
So I thought, what if you just support that trunk with a little stake? And you have to keep up with it, but it gets the fruit and the flowers up off the ground. I think the pollinators can see better in there, and it saves space, which I'm all about.
Beautiful. So you just basically trim off the lower branches here.
Which I was doing anyway because of mildew.
Exactly. And then the stake supports it, and you've got yourself growing a lot of vegetables in a little bit of space.
Yeah. This, we talked earlier about, you know, I wanted it in a jungle setting, but not necessarily jungle vegetables. Well, we
Yes.
do have a jungle fruit. This is dragon fruit, and we're actually really lucky because a couple weeks ago, all of a sudden 4 flower buds came out, which means in about a month we're gonna have some fruit.
Wow.
And it's actually a really cool plant because it looks like a cactus, but it actually likes the water. So it actually grows in the rainforest up against a tree. And it's got really, you might see them in the grocery store and they're super expensive. So if you grow them, they're not only fun to grow, but you save some money and they're delicious. They have this purple flesh that's like really purple, like deep purple. And you know there's gotta be a ton of antioxidants in there.
Wow, that's
And it's fun.
incredible. Wow, who knew that you could grow this just in your own backyard? Such a unique plant.
Yeah.
Now, what do you have it trellised on? What is this right here? Looks really fun.
This is actually just a 4x4, and then this is an old wheel from my grandparents' plow that they used to use in their garden.
That is
And-
so cool.
Yeah, where they grow these in Vietnam, they actually have a similar type of structure. So I saw that and I thought, wait, I've got something like that.
It was really inspiring to look around your garden, see all the beautiful plants, and just hear how it's impacted your life.
It's definitely impacted my life, and it was great to relive it.
And you know what? It would be really neat, I think, if you brought your family out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Great. Come on out, you guys.
Hey
should-
guys.
Hi.
Good to see you.
And Brian, why don't you do the introductions?
Well, this is my wife, Emily,
Hi.
and this is my son, Noah, who you've probably seen on some of my videos and a couple of their videos as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Noah, you've been on a few of our episodes. What was that like?
It was fun. It was also kind of weird seeing like on YouTube, like looking at like when you're scrolling through YouTube and all of a sudden your face pops up. It's kind of weird, but it's also kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah, did any of your
Yeah.
buddies approach you and go, I saw you on YouTube?
Not like that, but like they're like, what's your dad's channel again? And I was just like, California Garden TV. And then he's just like, and then they're just like, oh, cool. So they're checking it out. So
Cool.
Oh,
That's great.
yeah.
Good. So Emily, what's it like to compete for your husband with the garden?
Well, I will say that there's times that I miss not having him around. However, how can you be mad when you have all of this beauty back
Yeah,
here?
definitely.
And I love the gazebo that he built back here. And every morning we have coffee time and we talk about how we're going to start our day. And it's been amazing. So you can't be mad when you walk out here and you see how beautiful the yard is and everything that he's done back here. So.
You've really created a haven for your family, the beauty, and you have that really special family time together.
Yeah, it's great.
And now most of the work is done, so you don't have to lose me so much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
And now
enjoy your time
You
together.
guys get to
Yes.
enjoy it now.
True.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming out, all of you, and for sharing your backyard
Yes.
story with us.
Thank you. Now, how did you get started at this house? I know you have a little bit of a family history behind it here, so tell us about that.
Yeah, this house, I've been coming to this house since I was born. This was my
Wow.
grandparents' house.
So cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That is.
So yeah, we have pictures of me under the
awesome.
Christmas tree in my little carrier in 1974.
Wow.
So we're out here in the backyard, which is kind of fun.
Oh my goodness.
But when I moved in here 6 or 7 years ago, it didn't look anything like this. There was a big rickety old shed right here, huge tree, 3 shrubs, trimmed into cubes, and a couple of tomato plants. And so in the last 7 years, quite a lot's changed.
We've got a lot of comments and feedback from users during live streams, etc., about how gardening or just being out in the garden is therapeutical, it's healing, it can be a place of refuge for folks. Tell us a little bit about that in your life.
2008, Noah was born, so that was great. That wasn't a trying time at all. But when you stack that onto what happened in the fall of 2008 when the housing market crashed,
Yep.
I own my own business. 95% of my clients were contractors. They had no work, so I had no work.
Wow.
And brand new baby, and then hardly any money coming in, anxiety, depression. I mean, that really set in.
I got laid off at that time too.
Yeah, it's a very hard
so
time.
it was. And the house we were living at had a great garden space. It was 40 by 40. The problem is we lived 2 blocks from the beach, and it was almost 100% sand. And so no amount of organic matter, it seemed like, did anything. The water drained straight through. All that grew were weeds. So I kind of abandoned that after the first year. And that was hard because I had no place to do anything to relieve the stress. And then we moved here in 2012, 13. And I had this blank canvas to do whatever I wanted, great soil. And so you can see things exploded.
Yes.
And so it really became, like you said, a refuge. The anxiety and depression, I had a hormonal issue also that caused the depression. But if I hadn't had this garden to just be in, because when you're gardening, your focus is strictly on what you're doing. Everything else just kind of fades away, and you're just on that task. And so that has helped a lot in relieving the anxiety, relieving the depression, because it's almost like meditation. And I'm not one, probably ADHD in me or something, that just can sit and like meditate. I'm thinking about everything else, but for some reason gardening does that for me.
So did the 2008 period kind of put you into a depression and some bouts with anxiety at the time?
Definitely anxiety. The depression came after a year or two where things weren't changing a lot.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? And I've got this new baby and a wife and a family to support. So depression, like I said, with the hormones as well. But anxiety was probably the killer.
And I love how you talked about your backyard as a blank canvas, because I know you're an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Disney nut, like some other people here. And I used to work for Disney, and so
Me too.
the whole thought of theming, theming is everything. And so once I thought of a theme, which would be a jungle theme, which took into account my love of tropical plants and takes advantage of our climate, then it was just, everything kind of laid out step by step. I mean, if you follow my channel for any length of time, you know that not everything looked like this in the beginning. It was a gradual progression of area. I think if you move into a house and you do have a blank canvas, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I just let myself focus on one area at a time. And literally 7 years later, I'm just now kind of at a place where I think everything's almost finished.
Would you mind sharing with us, what did that depression and what did that anxiety look like?
Well, for me, and for anyone who has anxiety, it's sometimes okay, and sometimes it's crippling. I mean, it bleeds into every aspect of your life, whether you're in a movie theater watching a movie, and something can trigger it, and all of a sudden, your day is just ruined.
Wow.
For me, because the trigger was money, and lack thereof at the time, you don't want to go to the mailbox because there might be a bill in there that you may not be able to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a big one for me. I would hear the mailman coming up the driveway, and I'm just like, it was set in. You know?
Oh man.
Just it's something that it consumes you. Not all the time, but like I said, there are triggers, and it will consume you, and anything you're doing, you have that nagging thought in the back of your mind. And so I think that is where having an outlet, for me it was gardening, it quieted that nagging thought. Because you weren't thinking about, you had something. I mean, gardening is peaceful, and if you have a nice area to garden in, it's very relaxing. But I think the task that you're doing and focused on, it quiets other thoughts. And if you have depression or anxiety, you can get caught up in a cycle of thought that isn't even rational sometimes. It's completely irrational. But if you can turn it off some way, and I tried medication, and that was like, I'm sure it works well for some people. For me, it did not. Side effects, and it didn't work for me. But gardening did.
You've got a great YouTube channel, California Garden TV, where you really share your passion with other people.
Yeah.
So how did that all come about after you had your garden and you're relaxing in the garden, had your vegetable garden going? How did that transition happen?
Well, when we moved into this house, I hadn't done a lot of vegetable gardening, and so I needed some advice, and that's where you came in. Just searching YouTube. And I remember stumbling across your channel. It was probably the first gardening channel. I just typed in, gardening in California or whatever, and
Cool.
there you were. And I distinctly remember watching that watermelon video.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know at what point that was, but I remember that one for sure. I had a lot of inspiration from you, but also the woman that I was talking about with the dahlias.
Oh, that's
and
right.
she, I remember just sitting in her garden for several hours and just kind of absorbing everything. And she knew a lot. I mean, she was a certified master gardener, and we would just absorb everything she had to say.
Yeah.
And so I thought, even back then, I thought, someday I'm going to be able to give this back somehow.
Oh,
I didn't
neat.
know how. YouTube was definitely not a thing back then. But when I saw you and what you were doing with your channel, and reading comments and people, I think unless you read the comments, if you just watch videos, you don't get the impact that it has on people.
That's true.
In so many ways.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ways that you don't even realize. You're watching the video, great, but when you're seeing what people are saying about how it's inspired them or helped them get healthy or whatever, I knew that was the way I'd be able to give back.
That's neat.
And so, just on a whim, leap of faith, I just started, and it's growing, and it's fun.
Great. That is fun. And I always feel like the rewards of gardening go way beyond growing vegetables. Like part of the fun of it for me, and it sounds like for you, is really sharing that with other people. I see that in your channel too. You've got so many great tutorials and the comments, you're interacting with people, and it's really a wonderful way to be able to share your passions. So
Yeah,
thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's great. But people all over the world, whoever would have thought you could reach so many people in so many ways.
That's a really
crazy.
neat part about it.
What would you say then to someone who's maybe discouraged about gardening, wanting to give up, or someone who's going through a similar situation that you did with depression, anxiety, and really looking for an outlet to help relieve that in their lives?
If you're already gardening and you're discouraged, just realize it happens to everybody. Things that, I look at and be like, well, this is like a beginner issue. Why am I having this problem? Well, I'm not a beginner. You're not a beginner, but I bet you have those same feelings.
Yes, I do.
Things happen. Life happens. In every aspect of life. Gardening is no different. Nothing's perfect. Bugs come, pests, disease, weather. And if you just kind of realize it's all part of the process and don't get hung up on mistakes or failures, just keep going. It's part of the process. And if you're enjoying being outside, then it doesn't matter. Just brush it aside, move on. Plants can be planted, seeds can be started again.
Yes.
There's no emergencies in gardening. If somebody has not been gardening, and whether they have an issue or not that they kind of need help with or an outlet, do it. Because the rewards, like you said, go far beyond just growing your own food. The rewards are so numerous, whether it's just the relaxation you get, the people you meet through gardening,
True.
or the stress relief that it has. If you're thinking about it, then there's something in there. And if you're thinking about it, give it a try.
Absolutely. If people are just starting very, very small, just start simple with something. You know, just get going, and you get that joy of seeing something grow, which
Yeah.
just feels really, really good.
Yeah, even one container
Yes.
of lettuce.
Yes, it's my favorite thing to start with.
Yeah. And you have a lot of great videos on container gardening. I don't have so many. And if I was back when we lived in an apartment, I could have used that. And I had no idea on a balcony you could grow stuff. But so wherever
Yes.
you are, you can start.
And thank you so much for having the courage to share what you shared with us today. Really appreciate it. I think it's really going to touch a lot of people's hearts and lives.
So too.
And of course, we totally always enjoy coming and seeing your beautiful tropical garden.
You're welcome anytime.
I feel more
Sure.
at peace already just sitting here, don't you,
Oh,
Jerry?
I love it. Actually. I think we're going to stay a while.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Let's have some coffee. So why don't you tell people where they can find you on social media?
Well, my YouTube channel is California Garden TV. My Instagram is the same, and Facebook, which I'm not too active on Facebook, but you can find me there also, same name.
And please share with us in the comments below if you can relate to any part of Brian's story about anxiety, depression, or just needing to find some peace and stress relief in the garden. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.
When we were out in Maui filming an episode out there about tropical gardening, I saw something and I thought, oh, this is so Brian. I told
Yeah.
Kim, I got to get this for Brian. So Brian, this is from the islands. It's going to fit perfect back here.
I'm excited.
There you go.
Yep. I paid for that wrapping.
Yeah, we wrapped it really special for you.
Oh, that's awesome. A tiki. I think I know exactly where it's going to go.
Oh, good. It's going to fit right in here.
Go up there.
Oh, perfect.